Welcome, everybody, to the 3 secrets to supercharge your subconscious mind for success. Try to say that 10 times fast. And how to have supreme confidence, focus, and drive so you can quickly create the life that you want. Now, why is this different? Well, you see, if you've ever struggled with confidence, focus, and drive in the past, it's not your fault because no one ever taught us how to control our subconscious mind. And I want to put your disbelief to rest because what you're going to learn today is completely different. What has held you back in the past is being unaware of what fears and limiting beliefs are in your mind. And if you've ever thought this has to be easier, you're right. After this webinar, you will have a deep understanding of how to truly feel confident to create the life that you want. Now, I want to be sure you're on the correct webinar. So I have 3 simple questions to be sure that you're in the right place. Do you want to feel confident and certain in yourself now? Do you want to feel passion and excitement for life? And do you want to make more money? Let's get a hell yes on that one. We all want to make more money, don't we? If you've answered yes to all 3 questions, you are right where you're supposed to be. So we're going to be covering the 3 secrets to supercharge your subconscious mind for success. Secret number 1 is how to get out of the gray zone. Secret number 2 is tapping into your inner confidence. And secret number 3 is my favorite, the money magnetism sleep hypnosis. Guys, I'm going to share with you a mind-blowing story that I promise you, actually, I guarantee you, it is going to change your paradigm forever. As you're on your phone or computer, watching this video, listening to my voice, wondering what this is all about, focus all your attention on this training and stay to the end because it's going to immediately change your life. And put your credit cards away. You will not be asked to make any purchases during this webinar. So who am I? Well, my birth name is Dominique Bertoncini, but most people know me as Dom the Hypnotist. This is me over here to my right with my buddy Julian Marquez, who's a UFC fighter here at the UFC Performance Institute in Las Vegas. A couple notable things about myself. I've been mentioned on Joe Rogan and ESPN. I've worked with 17 NFL athletes, 15 UFC fighters, 2 Olympians, including an Olympic gold medalist, and thousands of entrepreneurs and salespeople from all over the world. Now, before I programmed my mind to feel confident, focused, and driven, and well before I started hitting 6-figure months every month doing what I love, I was in massive amounts of debt and constantly afraid of what the future held. I completely lost my passion for life. And like you and many others, I don't come from a rich family. My mother was 15 years old when she had me. My dad was 17. My grandmother had my mom when she was 16, and my great-grandmother had her first child when she was 13. You know, my father has been a welder for over 35 years, so I come from just a regular blue-collar family. And so as you can imagine, I didn't grow up with the best relationship around money. Not only did I grow up in scarcity, I also lacked confidence and self-worth. The first 30 years of my life were an up and down roller coaster. You know, I would gain a little success and then get stagnant or sabotage it. I'd gain a little success, get stagnant, or sabotage it. Nod your head slightly if this sounds familiar. Now, I did what many people do to try and combat my negative subconscious programming. I spent hundreds of hours every year reading books on personal development. I spent thousands of hours every year listening to podcasts and audiobooks, and I spent tens of thousands of dollars going to seminars. Now, some stuff would work for a little while, but then very shortly after, I would fall back into my old ways and my old mindset. I felt like a complete failure. And not to mention, I had friends who were not putting in all this effort, and somehow they were having far more success than I was. And it wasn't until I came across a video of Rob Dyrdek talking about how he was struggling early on in his career and then got hypnotized for success.
XYZ skate supply thing. He says, dude, back then Dyrdek was a Daryl, dude, just drunk and smoking weed and shit. And and then it wasn't until you went to this Dr. Pratt, who was a hypnotist.
The first test he did on me was like, you don't believe you were meant, your subconscious doesn't believe you were meant to be successful. And then lo and behold, we did a handful of sessions, and I've never taken a step backwards, never again in my life.
Wouldn't it be amazing to feel certain and know you were meant to be successful like Rob mentioned? Now, I must admit, even after I heard that, I thought to myself, I don't think I could be hypnotized. What if it worked for him, but not for me? And how do I find the right person to work with? Now, many people associate hypnosis with stage hypnosis, where the hypnotist brings a bunch of people up on stage, makes them sing and dance and do all kinds of silly things. That's not the type of hypnosis we're covering today. What we're covering is how to use hypnosis to tap into your inner confidence and truly create the life that you want. Now, if you're thinking, I don't know if I can be hypnotized. Well, have you ever been driving and your mind wanders off and then suddenly you arrive at your destination? Or been so enveloped in doing something that you love that hours felt like minutes? Now, I'm assuming you've experienced this before, right? What happened there? Well, you actually went into a natural state of hypnosis. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use hypnosis to turn up your confidence and desire to create massive success in your life. Now, what's the history of hypnosis? Well, hypnosis has been used for thousands of years, dating all the way back to about 2500 BC. In Egypt, they had these special temples where their version of our modern day hypnotists would perform these powerful hypnosis meditations. Back then, these temples were reserved only for the elite. This meant that you had to be a rich landowner, government official, military officer, a priest, a doctor, or part of the royal family. The hypnotist would perform these powerful meditations on the elite to help them create the mindset to stay in power and tap into their fullest potential. Now, in modern times, some of the most successful people in the world attribute a lot of their success to hypnosis and meditation. People like Mike Tyson, Tony Robbins, Tom Brady, Oprah Winfrey, Tiger Woods, Adele, Julia Roberts, Conor McGregor, Sylvester Stallone, Albert Einstein, Martha Stewart, and many, many others. Now, once I dove deep and discovered how many successful people use hypnosis to create massive success, I thought to myself, wouldn't it make sense to use this powerful tool to your advantage? Now, it's not just the super successful celebrities that are using hypnosis to improve their lives. This is my client, Yana. Yana's a psychotherapist who went from having 6 employees in her practice to well over 20 employees within 3 months after clearing out her fears and tapping into her inner confidence. This is my client, Dustin. Dustin is a life insurance agent who went from doing $7,000 a month to doing $26,000 the very next month after going through our program.
I barely was making about $6,000 to $7,000 a month. My income was over $27,000 for that first month.
Man, wouldn't it be nice to triple or quadruple your income in a short amount of time? So let's talk about secret number 1, getting out of the gray zone. What is the gray zone? Well, you see, the gray zone is when things in our life aren't going really, really good, but they also aren't really, really bad. And so we just kind of get stuck in this gray area. So let's take these 3 lines here. The top line is what we call the pleasure line. The bottom line is the pain line. And the middle line is the gray zone. Now, for the purpose of this example, we're going to use money. So let's say you're making an average of $10,000 a month, and you can plug in any number here. But you're making $10,000 and you want to get to $20,000. Well, if suddenly one month you hit a $5,000 month, but you're used to being in that gray area, that comfort zone of $10,000, what's going to happen to your motivation? Well, suddenly you're going to start taking action, doing all the things, working extra hours to get back up to where you're used to. And then what happens? We get stagnant. We start avoiding, procrastinating, making excuses, and then we get all back down to that pain zone. And then we're like, oh my God, we got to make it happen. And then boom, the motivation kicks in. And then this is a cycle that plays out over and over again. Now, what the most successful people in the world do is when they're in the pain line, they're highly motivated, they get up to a gray zone, they may stay there for a little while, but then boom, they get to that next level. And then they stay there for a little while, and then boom, they get to the next level. And the reason why is they're not focusing on the pain motivation, and their subconscious mind is programmed to be motivated by pleasure. Now, some people will do this. They're in pain. They get up to the gray zone. They stay there for a little while. They go up to another level of the pleasure zone, but then that becomes their new gray zone. They get comfortable there, and then they fall back and they go through that cycle over and over again. Now, we're going to program your mind to feel motivated by pleasure instead of pain. Now, this is my client, Aaron, who's the CEO of Toe Hold Flip Flops. Aaron went from doing $4,000 a month in his flip-flop business to doing $25,000 weeks, not months, weeks, within 6 months of going through our program, and he grew his social media following to almost 350,000 followers. And on top of all that, he got a shout out on the Joe Rogan podcast saying that he has the best flip-flops in the world. Take a look.
They are the best flip-flops I've ever had. Legitimately. They have
Is
the
that
best
enough?
soles.
Are we good? Can
They're
we move
solid.
past
They're
the
cool
whole
looking.
now?
He gave me
Listen
Bigfoot
up.
ones. They have
Really
Bigfoot
cool.
engraved in them.
Yeah.
I have some that have a dragon engraved in them.
I don't know.
Now, I know it may seem impossible, but imagine, just for a moment, imagine what that kind of endorsement would do for your business. Now, secret number 2 is tapping into your inner confidence. We see the reason people don't feel confident as they can is because they are subconsciously holding on to memories in their past that have caused them a lot of fear. Now, imagine as if our emotions are like a cup. When we're born, our cup of fear is empty. And as we go through life, that cup fills up. We have stuff from our childhood, we get bullied, we have relationship issues, high school problems, business failures, losing deals, social situations. Well, eventually that cup gets so full that any tiny little thing will cause us to overflow with the emotion of fear. And so the fear is what holds us back from truly feeling confident. And so through hypnosis, we're going to empty out that cup so you can now feel confident and now feel certain more than you ever have. This is my client, BC, who's a hairstylist. BC went from making $1,500 a week in her business, working 6 days a week, to now making over $3,000 a week in only 4 working days. Now, secret number 3, my favorite, the money magnetism sleep hypnosis. And I guarantee you the story I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind. So halfway through the NFL season of 2021, one of my clients finally got his first start. And we got together for our weekly session and he said, Dom, I'm a little nervous about my first start. So if there's any other tricks you have up your sleeve, now is the time to use it. Well, every week in the NFL, you have to study the playbook of your upcoming opponent. So what we did is I created a hypnosis recording with the other team's plays and I had him listen to it while he was sleeping throughout the night. Now, if I'm being honest, although I'm a hypnotist, up until this point, I never really believed in the whole sleep hypnosis idea because I thought, well, you're sleeping, right? How can it actually work? But I figured, even though I wasn't 100% it would work, I figured it couldn't hurt, so we might as well give it a shot. Well, he listened to it 4 nights in a row leading up to the game, and he messaged me afterwards saying this. He said, Dom, I've never been more in tune with what the other team was going to do. It was like I knew what they were going to do before they did it. Well, after hearing that, I figured, okay, maybe there is something to this whole sleep hypnosis thing. So a few weeks later, I decided to listen to a sleep hypnosis geared towards attracting more abundance financially. And I still wasn't 100% certain it was going to work, but I figured I'm going to be sleeping anyway, so I might as well give it a shot. I started listening to the hypnosis recording on a Tuesday, and by Sunday, something amazing had happened. I had the most client signups ever by about a 50% increase. Clients were signing up left and right. I was getting DMs and calls and referrals. It was madness. Now, I was thrilled about the results, but there was one huge problem. 50% more clients is great, but now I had 50% more work and I couldn't sustain that. I didn't have the team like I do now to support me, so I actually had to stop listening to it. Well, a few months later, I had an epiphany, and I thought to myself, why don't I just create my own sleep hypnosis so I can make more money, but without all the extra work? And so I uploaded my sleep hypnosis to YouTube, and within a few days, I got a ton of great feedback. People were commenting saying they had deals that were closing out of nowhere. Their calendars were filling up with appointments. People had gotten raises. I was kind of in disbelief. Like, is it really working that fast? Well, then I had other feedback. And some people were saying that they couldn't hear the recording and it sounded like it was in a different language. So I figured maybe I messed something up when I was recording it, or maybe something was wrong with their phones, and I just left it at that. Well, a few months later, I started giving this sleep hypnosis to all my new clients when they signed up and went through our process. And a similar thing happened. Within days, people started saying, I'm making more money than ever, deals are closing left and right. But then others were saying they couldn't understand it. Now, this is where the story gets very, very interesting, and I'm going to come on camera to tell you the story because it still blows my mind till this day. So one of my clients texted me on a Sunday afternoon, and she said, Dom, I think something's wrong with the recording. I've been listening to it for a few days, and now it's sounding like it's in a different language. And I told her, I've heard this many times before. Send me a screen recording, and I'll take a look. So she sends me a screen recording, and again, I can hear it perfectly fine. About an hour goes by, and she texts me, and I'll always remember this for the rest of my life. And she says, Dom, I think I'm going crazy. I said, what's going on? And she said, I just showed my partner your recording. We're in the same exact room, and she can hear it perfectly fine, but I can't understand it. And I'm like, I text her back, I'm like, what? This is crazy. And she goes, yes, she can understand it. And to me, it just sounds like it's in a different language. Now, I had no idea what was going on. And it was kind of like, is this real? Is this not real? Like, what's happening here? And so I said, okay, you know what? Let's talk about it next week in our session. We'll see what we come up with. Week goes by, we jump on our session, and I had to see it for myself, right? I wanted proof that this is actually happening. So I shared the screen with her on Zoom. I play the recording, and sure enough, I can hear it as clear as day, and she can't understand a word. So again, I didn't know what to do, so I just did intuitively what I know. I said, okay, there must be something, your mind must be blocking this out. So I said, okay, close your eyes, put her in hypnosis, and started talking to her subconscious mind, and this is what we discovered. We discovered that she had a fear if she became successful, her friends and family would get jealous and she'd lose them. She had a fear that if she became successful, she'd be really arrogant and cocky and people wouldn't like her. She had a fear if she became successful, people would attack her, right? People would come after her money. She also had a fear that she wouldn't be able to handle all the success, right? Getting all kinds of wealth, there's a lot that comes with that. She was also afraid that if she became successful and when she became successful, that she wouldn't be happy. So one by one, we go through and we start removing all these fears, all these limiting beliefs from her subconscious mind. And lo and behold, 45 minutes later, I play the recording and she can hear it perfectly clear. My mind was boggled. I know you may or may not believe it, but this is what happened. And not only did that happen, that following Monday, I do a group with my clients and I told the group, I said, hey, this is what happened. And a few people said, you know what? I thought I was going crazy, but that same thing happened to me. And then one by one, I started working with clients. And sure enough, same exact thing. We jump on the call. They couldn't hear it. We'd release their limiting beliefs. And then 45 minutes to an hour later, they can hear it perfectly fine. This is one of the craziest things I've ever experienced in my life. And it just so happened, I just stumbled across it. Here's the thing. When people hear this for the first time, they think, either it's not real, that won't happen to me, right? And it's funny, I have clients that are 7 and 8 figure earners, and guess what? They'll start listening to the recording, and a lot of times they can't understand it either. People that are worth millions of dollars are listening to a recording around creating financial abundance, and it's distorting on them as well. So it doesn't matter where you're at. It's on the financial scale. This can happen to anybody. And I would say about 30 to 40% of the people that come into our program have this exact experience. And it's always paradigm shifting, and I kind of made it part of my life purpose to help people identify what these blocks are and remove them. Because let's be honest, most people's problems stem from money, right? Divorce, suicide, health issues is all because of money. So when I can help people clear out these blocks and level up in their lives, it's one of the best feelings in the world and one of the best gifts you can give to somebody to help them remove these beliefs. Now, if you're still like, I don't know if I believe this guy or whatever, listen to my client Handsome, give his testimony. This is going to blow your mind even more.
Yeah, no. So I spoke to Dom, and this is actually before we even started our sessions. And he was like, all right, I told him the troubles I'm having in terms of I want to get up early again and I want to focus on money and getting it in. He said, hey, I have a sleep hypnosis audio track that you can listen to at night. You listen to about large sums of money. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Awesome. Listen to it for the next 3 weeks. It's had some great results for people. And I said, cool. That was a Friday evening. I heard it that Friday night. Everything's good. I actually heard it during the day as well, like, to hear what I'm going to be hearing. Saturday, everything's good. Sunday night, I wake up probably like an hour after I went to sleep and I hear it, but then I hear like this gibberish type thing. And whatever, I ignore it. I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe it's because I'm deeper in the track. Again, Monday night, I go to sleep, I wake up and I hear it and I start getting all these thoughts in my head. I'm like, damn, is this like some demonic stuff? Like I just started getting creeped out. I'm like, no, listen, let me stay the course. Happens the next night again, except the next night was Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. It was like 3 something in the morning, and I open my eyes and I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm actually hearing this. It wasn't like a dream. As I'm driving every Wednesday, I go up to where my daughter lives. I'm driving, and I decide to jump in a Facebook group that we have, right, for the clients. And I get there and I see a video, and I landed on that video specifically of you saying that someone had this issue. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not crazy. All right, I know I'm not crazy. I'm not losing my mind. Whatever. So that night, I'm sleeping over there, and it's a Wednesday night, and I went to bed early. I go to bed early now because I wake up at 4:27. That's what we worked on, right? So I'm in bed. It's like 9 o'clock. 17 minutes in. 17 minutes in. I'm like dozing off, and all of a sudden I hear just straight gibberish. Right? I'm like, okay. I get up right there, and then my girl's in the playroom. She's cleaning up the playroom because Penelope fell asleep at that time, our daughter, and I'm like, Sharice, you have to hear this. And she's like, hear what? And I play the audio. I'm like, listen, what do you hear? And she's like, a man speaking. Like, why am I hearing this? And I'm just like, yes, a man speaking. But what is he saying? And she's like, play it back. I was like, all right, cool. So I reminded her when I play it back, and she looks me dead in the face. And out of her mouth, her lips even moved that way, was the gibberish. She looked me dead in my face, and she's like, but the way she said it, yeah, that was the creepy thing. Because the way she said it, like, I knew she wasn't fucking with me. She knew nothing about it, right? She knew nothing of it. And right there, I got chills. I got all these goosebumps. And when she saw my face, she's like, I got pale. I'm tan skinned, man. I'm Hispanic. So she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, listen, this is what I'm hearing. And I like repeat it to her. She's like, what are you listening to? What's wrong with you? There's no way. I said, whatever. So, I know she's a little creeped out, right? She's pregnant at the time. So I'm like, all right, let me leave her alone. And I go back to the bed and I lay down. I'm like, all right, focus. You know what he's saying in the audio. Just focus. Lay down. Happened again. I just couldn't do it. I just got up and I go to her and I'm like, look, here's a pad. Like, please, just write down what you hear. She's like, all right, you're being creepy again, but whatever. So she's like writing it down, and she's writing actual words. And I'm like, you see, I'm not hearing this. Like, that is not what I'm hearing right now. I'm hearing this sound. And she's like, oh, it's something weird. Next day, I go to my niece. My niece a nurse. So she's like into, science and medicine and all that stuff. And I tell her, like, Aubrey, listen to this audio. What do you hear? I kid you not. It's like a movie. The same thing. She looks me in the face, says the gibberish where her lips actually moving in gibberish. And I'm staring at her mouth. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is what I hear. And I had her write it down. She's like, oh my God, maybe you're having like a seizure and you just don't know it. I'm like, I'm not having a damn seizure. Like, I'm fine. There's no seizure going on here. I'm normal right now. And then we spoke about it, and we did obviously some training. We did deep diving into my subconscious mind because you said I had a money block. And it was tough. We did like 2 or 3 sessions before I finally, now I'm able to hear it clearly again.
Now, isn't that a crazy story? I mean, every time I watch that, it blows my mind every single time. It's funny. The other day, someone said to me, you can just fake testimonials. How do I know it's real? And I kind of laughed and I said, look, you can't fake a Joe Rogan podcast shout out. You can't fake being in pictures with UFC fighters and NFL athletes. And at the end of the day, as you were listening to him tell the story, Handsome, the gentleman that just was on there, it may seem unbelievable, but you can see and hear he's telling the truth. Now, don't you think it's a good idea to do a deep dive in your mind like we did with Handsome and figure out what's holding you back from leveling up? I want you to imagine we've removed those blocks and you now feel absolute confidence and certainty within yourself. On top of confidence and feeling certain, you now feel passion and excitement for life. What type of lifestyle would you create? How much more money would you be able to make? How would this positively impact your relationships with your family, your friends, and your romantic relationships? What places would you travel to? What kind of home would you live in? What kind of cars would you drive? Really allow yourself to experience that in this moment. Life would be far more fulfilling and exciting, wouldn't it? If you made it this far in the webinar, it's for a reason. And that reason is that you now want a breakthrough, you now need a breakthrough, and you are now excited to get a breakthrough. Remember when I talked about how only the elites had access to hypnosis? Well, nowadays with modern technology, anybody can experience this powerful phenomenon. Now, many people think hypnosis can only be done in person. Well, hypnosis is actually done through language, not physical touch. So with modern day technology, you can be hypnotized from anywhere in the world. I'm excited to announce my team and I are providing a complimentary Zoom hypnosis consultation to do a deep dive into your subconscious mind and find out what's been holding you back from breaking through to the next level. Now, before you click the link below this video, this is who we're looking to work with. Business owners and salespeople who want to have a rapid breakthrough in their career. So if you're in sales, you're in a business, you're in the right place. And someone who's excited about personal development and who truly wants to change. Now, before you book your consultation, I want to share with you one last little bit here. You know, from 18 years old to 30 years old, before I got into hypnotherapy, I sold life insurance. And, you know, I worked with, over the years, probably 10,000 different people. And most of the people I worked with were in their 60s, their 70s, you know, people that were at that retirement age. And it gave me a very, very interesting perspective on where most people end up in their lives. And to be honest with you, it scared the hell out of me because I would meet with so many people. You're talking 95+%, no, probably 98% of the people I meet with were barely getting by. They were alone, sad, depressed because they just couldn't afford to do things that they want to do. And you know, what's funny is many of these people at one point in their lives, they were successful. You know, they had the 2-story house and the nice neighborhood, but over time with inflation, their bills, just the way everything's go, they can't afford it. And then they end up having to downside and living in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment on the bad side of town. Now, what's interesting is, you know, I didn't ever ask anybody at the time, but knowing what I know now, if I were to ask those people when they were 20, 30, 40 years old, and I said, hey, where do you think you'll be when you're 60, 70 years old? I guarantee you, not one of them would ever say, I'm going to be broke, sad, alone, depressed, living in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment on the bad side of town. None of them would. They would all say, oh man, I'm going to be living the great life and traveling and spending time with my family, right? Because that's what most people want in their lives. But you see, the problem is that just like I mentioned earlier about people blocking their success because of these governors in their mind, they end up having those same governors. And slowly but surely over time, they end up putting themselves in those deep holes. You know, most people don't go broke overnight. You know, it's a long process that it takes for people to end up in those paths. Now, occasionally, I would meet with very successful people. I actually, as a matter of fact, one time I met a guy who owned a theme park. Like this guy was just worth, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. And man, he had a really beautiful home. But I remember meeting with this gentleman, and one of the, you know, when you're a young kid like that, you're just so giddy. You're like, man, what's the key to success and how do you do this? And, you know, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the common theme between all the successful people I met is they never stopped growing. They never stopped getting better. And they always invested in themselves. You know, the people that ended up dying slowly, living that life, they stopped growing. They stopped getting better. And so I share that with you because I know most people that are watching this are like, that'll never happen to me. Okay. Everybody else in that situation thought the same thing. And so I urge you to really take your personal development seriously and really do a deep dive into your mind and figure out, where are my blind spots? What am I not seeing here? What is holding me back from breaking through to the next level? And again, I don't care what level you're at. I've worked with NFL athletes, UFC fighters, Olympic athletes, 7, 8, 9-figure business owners and CEOs. And guess what? They all have the same blocks, the same fears as everybody else. They're always trying to break through to the next level. They just can't see those blind spots. So with that being said, click the link down below and book your consultation now.
All of last year, we did maybe 300,000 in sales. In the last 2 months, I've already passed that.
It feels like I finally have a purpose again. I'm making 3 times my salary.
Yeah.
But if I go on a really steady pace, then I have the potential to make 4 times my salary.
It was like business started just kind of coming to us. Yeah, I mean, it went from 2,500 in August. September was, I think, 10,000. And then since September, October, November, and December, which I thought December was going to be terrible, but we still made $15,000 last month. Our following went from 700 people when we started our business to now 33,000. So the deal that we got was an influencer deal with a company that has product, which we use for our walls. That's in a big box retailer. Our images of our walls will be on their product and in advertising campaigns for that retailer.
On 16,000, like 4 or 5.
So you just did 4 times
like
the
5
profit
yeah
in 1 week. What took you a whole month to do?
That's correct. Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Now,
That's pretty cool. It's surreal, man. It feels it's hard to believe.
yeah,
And I've been able to enter these conversations and make these deals just with ease. People are coming to me saying, "Here, take my money."